Welcome to This Organized Life. If you're a mom, wife, or coffee lover seeking advice on how to reduce clutter and reclaim time, look no further than your host, Laurie, founder of Simply Be Organized and author of Hot Mess, a practical guide to getting organized. For a lot of people, clutter is their dirty little secret, but it doesn't have to be. Each week, we will share practical tips, chat with experts, and provide strategies on how to keep you organized. I hope that by sharing our stories, you feel a little less alone and more empowered to tackle the areas that are holding you back. So let's get started!
Everybody, welcome to today's episode of This Organized Life. I'm your host, Laurie, and happy May, everybody. I can't believe that we are already almost halfway through the year. Like, it's so crazy. Before we get into today's episode, just wanted to go over a couple of updates, housekeeping things. First of all, if you're new to our show, welcome. So happy to have you here. If you're an OG listener, thanks so much for continuing to listen. I know in a sea of podcasts and so many different um, great options out there, the fact that you choose to tune in and listen to us each and every week means the world. So appreciative of that. And we really appreciate you. If there's anything that we can do to serve you better, please let us know. Reach out to us. Anyway, email, DM, you name it. But I did want to tell you guys, in case you haven't already seen it on social or haven't heard me promote it, we have a new segment that we are going to be launching on the show. And I want you guys to be a part of it. It's called our Ask an Expert series. And basically, it is our rendition of a call-in show. So instead of you calling in live, what you're going to be doing is filling out a quick intake form with one question that you have about organizing, decluttering, communication, the Enneagram, whatever it is. And we're going to set up a Zoom call. We're going to record it and we are going to post it on our show. We're going to air it on an upcoming episode because I know that a lot of times we have questions out there that we think are dumb or that nobody else has. And guess what, people? If you have this question or you're struggling, chances are there's tons of other people out there that are struggling with the same or a similar challenge. And so we want to bring you guys into the conversation. So it's called our Ask an Expert series. It's totally free and it's just a fun way for me to be able to bring you guys into the conversation and allow our show to be a little bit more interactive. I get to be in your ear every week. Now I'd love to invite you into my conversation. So check that out if you're interested or you know somebody that's interested. And again, we can change names. We can kind of blur out your video. So if you want to be a little anonymous, we can make that happen as well. And also, we've done some kind of revamping to some of the service offerings, like our paid stuff that we have, of ways that we can help you. So I will also include that link if anybody's interested in learning a little bit more about the work that we're doing with people one-on-one when we're not on the air. Check out our website. I'll put a link to the Work With Me tab, and we've got all different ways that we work with people through ongoing clutter coaching. We do strategy sessions, organizing diagnostics, like you name it. We have all these fun different ways that we can help you live your most organized life. So, okay. But now I want to get into today's episode. Today's episode is all about time management strategies for busy season. And I know that word time management is like got all kinds of crazy connotations when we think about what that means. And it's kind of like it's like invisible, right? Not, we can't really manage our time. It's just constantly ebbing and flowing. But what are some things that we can do, especially when things are super hectic, which is for so many of us, spring seems to be a really, really busy time. There's like a crunch time between, I would say, like April to June, especially if you're a parent with young kids at home, like school age kids. There's so many things between sports and recitals and activities and end of school year things that are happening that we just it's like we're all drinking from a fire hose. So I think there's a couple times a year that we feel that way. We feel that extra crunch on top of what our normal craziness is. One of them is around that time between Thanksgiving and New Year's, right? That's that crazy time. And then again, like I said, for many people, it's that April to June period. And so if you are nodding yes in agreement, then this episode is for you. So I'm really talking about 7 things. Some of them kind of overlap, but I just listed 7 different things. The first 3 all have to do with meal planning because when you're busy, especially if you are, whether it's just for yourself or you and your partner or spouse, or especially if you are responsible for meal prepping or cooking for your family, it adds a whole other layer when your schedules are crazy. And again, I'm in my mind, I'm picturing the mom who's got multiple kids and you're running to the baseball fields or the lacrosse fields or, whatever activity your kids are in. And this one's on this schedule and this one's on that schedule. And when are we all sitting down to make a meal, sit down at the table together? It seems impossible. And so, what are some things that you can do? First of all, I'm giving you all permission to incorporate takeout into your meal planning routine during a busy season. There is no shame, and I've done episodes about this before. There is absolutely no shame at all in saying, you know what? We're doing takeout tonight. We're going through the drive through, we're ordering a pizza. Even if it's like a local prep place that has prepared foods, that is totally fine. Give yourself permission. You do not need to cook 5, 6, 7 nights a week. Obviously, if budget's an issue, there's a lot of inexpensive ways that you can do this. But even sometimes a meal prep service requires you time to do it. And when you are really, really stressed with what has to give, sometimes this is an easy solution for the short term. We're not going to do this in perpetuity, but to do takeout once or twice a week during a busy season. I live in the Northeast and or in there's Wawa for those of you who know, shout out Wawa. Like there's nothing wrong with getting a Wawa hoagie for dinner. It's okay. Or guess what? If your kids are at the baseball fields and they have a snack stand, get them a hot dog. It's okay. So just know that that is totally a viable option. If you don't want to do that, or maybe that's not something that's in your budget, meal prepping and doing like a batch cook or prep is the way to go. Now, I'm a big fan of batch cooking under any circumstances. I like to do that. I like to do a big, in my world, it's usually on Sundays. I'll cook a bunch of food for the week that can last, or at least last me through part of the first half of the week. And that way we have easy grab and go options. So if takeout isn't necessarily a thing, or maybe that's one of the things, having healthy grab and go options for yourself and for your kids is great. I was actually having a conversation with my daughter the other day, and we were talking about sandwiches. And I said, hey, make 2. If you're sitting there and make a sandwich, make 2 and keep 1 in the refrigerator. That way, if tomorrow you want a sandwich, you can just grab it. And she's like, that's not gross. I was like, I don't think it's gross. If you are prepping something and you have a little bit of time to say, okay, I'm going to cut up vegetables or cut up fruit to make a fruit salad, just over prepare so that when you are busy and you're coming in and you have 15 minutes or 10 minutes or 5 minutes in between running from one activity to the other, you could just run in and grab a Tupperware of strawberries or hummus and carrot sticks or whatever it is. So get those grab and go things for anybody so that you don't also have to cater a full meal to somebody. Okay, the third thing when it comes to meal, and then we'll move off of meals, is I think oftentimes we forget about the breakfast for dinner option. Um, there's no shame in a bowl of cereal or frozen waffles, my friends. I'm sorry. I think that is a forgotten art when it comes to time management, tips, strategies. Saying here, we're just doing a simple breakfast. We're running. We're not home from practice till 9 o'clock at night. Who wants to sit down and eat a whole meal? But you know what? A bowl of cereal, some yogurt, frozen pancakes, frozen waffles, scrambled eggs, whatever. Great option. It doesn't sit in your stomach too heavy. It doesn't make it hard to go to bed. All of those things. And it's easy cleanup. It's also easy. Again, we want to think not just in the meal itself, but what are the other steps that are going to just add more to our plate? The prep, the cleanup, all of that stuff. So anytime that we can simplify and cut out any of those extra things that are going to add to our, keep that clock rolling, just cut it out. So again, 3 things: takeout, grab and go foods, and breakfast for dinner. Okay. So that's kind of in the meal plan. Now I'm going to talk about a little bit more kind of bigger picture type of things. And it's more about the communication piece of it, the overwhelm, the anxiety that comes with time trying to get all the things done in a short amount of time. One of the biggest things, and this is something that I have to personally practice, excuse me, and I've gotten way better at it over the years, but this is something where I see a lot of people struggling, is about communicating your needs and asking for help. This is the time, people, to put your pride aside. If you say, I need help picking up my kids, I need help with whatever it is, fill in the blank. I need you to take ownership over this. And this is especially true if you have a partner, a spouse. But I encourage you to rely on your friends, who I'm sure are also very busy. But if you need something, and again, you're not trying to add more to their plate, but if they're going to the baseball fields and they can take your kid or pick your kid up, then that's a great, like, there's no shame in asking for help. I know most of us would be happy to help out a friend if we can, but oftentimes we are carrying the burden of all the things. And there are things that we have to do, and then there are things that we choose to do. And that is the key distinction. What are we doing because we're being a control freak, for lack of a better word? We're being a martyr. We are telling ourselves this false story that this is only ours to do. So ask yourself, if I am weighing myself down with all of these things that have to get done, what can I communicate to outsource to other people? Which leads me to my next point, which is to prioritize. Now, this is a kind of a word that elicits a lot of expressions on people. Like, you could see the clenched, like the neck, getting all like tense. Prioritization of time and tasks is one of the keys to living an organized life. Living an organized life with your physical space, with your emotional well-being, and of course your calendar. And so when I talk about prioritizing, and this is something where a lot of people struggle, and they struggle for a variety of reasons. I always ask, what has to happen? Number one, what has to happen? Like, what are the time sensitive things that have to happen and have to happen now? So this is, if you struggle with prioritizing, like, you may have a to-do list of 25 things. What has to happen in the immediate? So in chronological order, like dates, times, and then what are the things that we want to happen, but don't necessarily have like a time associated with. So that is the first thing. Then the second question that you ask is, what is it that you would like to happen? So again, for me, I'm going to talk about myself in real time. I'm going to use a real life example. So I'm in the throes of planning our St. Baldrick's community event. It's a huge event for pediatric cancer research. I have 2 events. At the time that this drops, we'll have just completed our adults only event, which is a bar crawl, 200 people that I organize. Okay, crazy. 4 bars, 200 people. The second event is on May 11th, and that is a huge I guess, fair, if you want to call it. We've got food trucks and vendors and silent auction and baskets and carnival games. A DJ. We've got a bunch of people that are donating their hair for kids with cancer and other people that are shaving their head. Everybody's raising money, and our goal is to raise a couple $100,000, right? So there's a lot of moving parts to both of these events. I have a great team of people that help me with this. So, looking at myself, I have to prioritize what are the things that I can do and what are the things that I can delegate to my committee members, and how do I communicate with them clearly and concisely what needs to get done, what is the expectation in terms of the time frame, what that's going to look like, having all those very clear without being a micromanager, but being clear in setting the expectation of what we need. But then I'm going to prioritizing of, okay, what are the time sensitive things? So for me, I had to prioritize certain things with our bar crawl first, because that event logistically takes place before our other event. So there are certain things that I had to focus in on. And even though there were other outstanding things for the big event, I had to say, you know what? I have to put a pin in that. I can't deal with this right now. I'm either going to delegate it or I'm going to prioritize that down the lane, down the list. And I'm going to focus in on what has to happen now. So again, what I want to happen and what needs to happen. And then the bridging of the gap is, can somebody else do any of these areas? And so then you can look at, if I'm managing my time, what are the things that only I can do? And what are the things that maybe I like to do, but I don't need to do them? And when I'm really looking at prioritizing, is this the best use of my time? And that, my friends, is where a lot of people get stuck. They think everything is their responsibility. And when you are trying to do multiple things, whether you're running a big charity event or you're just running your household, and I don't mean just, if you're running your household and you're just trying to navigate all the things between your work and your kids and whatever other commitments that you may have, prioritizing is so, so important. And if you don't have healthy boundaries for yourself and you don't have the discipline to stick to it, you're going to struggle. And that's just the truth. So, really having that honest conversation with yourself when you are struggling with time management. And do I have boundaries? And if I do, am I sticking to them? Because a lot of times people will be like, oh, yeah, I have all these boundaries, but they don't hold themselves accountable. So it's no different than the parent who says to their kid, oh, if you don't come in by curfew, you're going to, be grounded. And then the kid misses curfew and they don't ground them. So if you know that there's no consequence for you not upholding your boundary, you're going to continue to break it. So that discipline piece is so, so important. Okay. The next thing that I want to say is, especially when you're in a busy season, you have to make peace that things are not always going to go according to plan. Even in the best of circumstances, things go sideways. I had a mishap with shirts. I had a mishap with signs being misprinted. I had all of these things happen that I was already scheduled and had things plugged in play, and things still went sideways. So you have to make peace that things are going to go awry and you're just going to have to roll with it. And you also need to make peace that when you are in the throes of busy seasons, that maybe some of the things that you want to have organized, maybe you want to have all your laundry put away, or maybe you want to, not have the sink full of dishes, or whatever that looks like for you. Maybe you're going to have a little season that isn't the case, and you're going to have some dishes out, or maybe you're going to, not have everything exactly perfect. And I'm air quoting that, because I think for a lot of people who are recovering perfectionists, it really adds this whole other layer of stress because they're used to controlling their environment and having things just so. And then when you are either not physically home to attend to that, or you are just in the middle of doing so many other things, there's only so many hours in the day. So finding that inner peace is so important for just keeping the climate of your home from getting crazy. And then the last thing that I always tell people when you're in the throes of a busy season is figuring out what is that next right thing for you. And I know that that may sound a little woo woo and a little kind of like out there, but what is the next right thing for you? And maybe the next right thing is to go take a walk around the block. Maybe that next right thing is to say, you know what, I'm going to let this slide. Or maybe the next right thing is saying, you know what, I'm going to get up an extra half an hour early so I can, or stay up an extra, half an hour late so that I can get the laundry done and not feel frustrated when I walk in the door and I see a load of laundry sitting there, or I see the dishes out, or I see the toys out, or whatever it is. Or maybe I've been so busy, I need to, sit down and, pay some bills or whatever that looks like for you. So I'm going to adjust my schedule during a busy season because a lot of times we get in our routines of what our schedules look like of when we go wake up and when we go to sleep and when we exercise and when we do all these different things. And then when we have something that kind of pushes those boundaries to the test, we get really, really agitated. And so my challenge to you guys is how can you adapt in those situations? Because it's going to pass. These seasons come and go. And again, that springtime after the spring for most of us, that's when we can downshift to like second gear and we're moving into summer. And we're going to go through that an additional realignment of our time, our schedule, and all of the things. So remember, this is like a sprint. There is a finish line that we can see at the end, and knowing when that is and setting those boundaries and those expectations for yourself, knowing that there is there is a period at the end of the sentence in terms of like, we're doing this for X amount of time. We're doing takeout every Wednesday for the next 6 weeks while we're in, travel baseball or lacrosse or whatever. Knowing that, then you can work that into your schedule. You can work that into your budget. You can work that into your daily routine. So it's just sitting down, trying to be proactive about it. If you know that these things are going to come up, sometimes you don't know, but if you know these things are going to come up, these are the best, um, giving yourself this permission to make these adaptations and loosening the reins has lasting effects that go well beyond the organized closet. So I hope you guys found this episode useful. If you know somebody who is currently like struggling with trying to do all the things, is a recovering perfectionist, is trying to, wear all the hats, please do them a favor and share this episode with them. Let them listen to it. I think sometimes hearing advice from somebody else really is kind of the jumpstart that many of us need. And even if you've heard it before, having that reminder really does sink in. And so please share this episode. If you are in this busy season, I get it. You're not alone. And maybe you're somebody that's listening and you're like, I'm not in a busy season right now. If you know somebody, a friend, a neighbor who's struggling, jump in, ask them, hey, is there anything you could do to help out? Can I make you a meal? Can I drop your kids somewhere? Can I do something? Offer yourself up. So if you're on the other side of things and you're like, hey, listen, I'm listening to this and my life, like I'm in a good spot right now, I'm sure you can relate to what that was like at some point. And so just put something out there, offer to mow somebody's lawn, whatever it looks like, to try to take something off of somebody else's plate, pay it forward. So that's it. Again, thanks so much for listening. I really, really appreciate each and every one of you. If you want to be part of our Ask an Expert series, we're going to be dropping the link below. You can also visit our website, simplybeorganized.com, where you can sign up on our website for the Ask an Expert series. And plus, you can see all the other fun things that we have going on. So until next week, I'm Laurie Plow. Peace out. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, please spread the love and share it with your friends. And if this is your first time joining us, make sure to click the subscribe button wherever you are listening so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, please leave us a review so other people know that our show is worth the listen. You can also find us on YouTube and Instagram at This Organized Life Podcast. And if you'd like to connect with us, you can head on over to our website at simply the letter B like boy organized.com, which is filled with tons of resources, including free downloads, checklists, links to our amazing organizing partners, and all of our digital offerings. I'll see you next week for another episode of This Organized Life.